Good evening, it's Tom Stoukas coming from Sarnia, Ontario. Hope everybody's having a nice night on August 1st, a new month. And yeah, summer. Summer's in the dog days of summer now. And speaking of dog days, we're talking about Trump again. August 1st is the deadline he put for some tariff to take effect against Canada. And I was reading about the thing, and apparently most of the stuff's under the free trade agreement. So I don't know. It's all complicated, but today's a day that they're supposed to start collecting some tariffs on stuff. And so look at that. And then also the big news is Canada's joining in and declaring, recognizing a Palestinian state. So all the pro-Israeli people in Canada are going nuts. The usual suspects, like obviously the Jewish groups, and of course the Conservative Party, the MPs, Pierre, all them. They gotta follow their orders. But also a lot of pro-separatist Alberta people on X have lost their minds about this. Maybe it's just a knee-jerk reaction to anything Carney does. Or maybe it's, I don't know, like Zionist Alberta, I guess. And also look at the immigration file, see how that's looking. So yeah, we'll see here. Okay, let's start with what's going on in the trade war. It's really boring stuff to me. I don't know. Sounds like it's all BS. So this is look at I was watching this video. Watch this, tell me where. Yeah, Doug Ford. I don't know about Doug Ford lately. He's got his spray tan. He's got like his hair can't be that blonde. Like he's older than I am. Like, what the hell? It's like a bleach blonde hair. So is he dyeing his hair? He's got this spray tan going. He's talking like he makes stupid mistakes, like he talked about the workers' permit, unforced errors. Like it's almost like he's drinking too many beers at the cottage. So here he's talking about how we're going to fight Donald Trump in this stupid, phony trade war, it looks like. And he's taking on Campbell's Soup, the American soup industrial complex. Hold on, I got to see this.
Buy a product, just flip it around the back and see where it's manufactured.
And this is the leader of.
Go to buy a product, just flip it around the back and see where it's manufactured. And buy Canadian when you can, anything possible. And I got to call one company out that I learned when I was, just 2 days ago, I met with all these tin can users and their food products. Is a company called Campbell's Soup. They told me that Campbell's Soup's putting a Canadian flag on their cans. They closed their plants here. They moved everything down to the U.S. And they put recipe made in Canada. What sort of nonsense is that? Don't let them hoodwink you. I'm going to call them out again. I'm going to show you one of their cans.
He'll show them.
It's unacceptable that they do that. Don't try to pull one over people's eyes. Canadians are too smart for that. So please, when you go shopping, I know it's not always possible, buy Canadian as much as you can. So we're going to win this thing.
We're going to win this thing.
We're going to go down and we're going to roll over. We'll keep fighting every single day. So thank you for getting me ramped up like this.
Can you read this?
So, yeah, he's trying to run for this whole trade thing. He's trying to position himself as the alternative to, what's his name, Pierre. And it's like, does he really, you could tell he's being fed these slogans like, we're not going to roll over in this and that. It's like, man, we're screwed with this guy as it is in Ontario. Could you imagine him being prime minister? Oh my God, if that ever happened. All right, what's the next one here? Yeah, he's taking on Campbell's Soup. I don't even think he can beat Campbell's Soup. This guy. I don't know. Okay. 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 We're almost there. Not much on the... So this is the thing with the trade thing. It says, don't just look at the headlines. You think a 35% tariff was going on to everything Canada exports to USA. It's only on 6% of goods we sell not covered under the existing trade agreement. Canadian politicians lying for personal gain aren't helping Canada. It just creates fear and division. That's not leadership. So, yeah, the tariff thing, I think Canadians, the more they hear about tariffs, the less the less of it affects them because they've heard it so much, and the sky hasn't fallen yet. I know obviously it's stressful, but the sky hasn't fallen yet. So the more they talk about this tariff thing, it's like whatever, until they see factories closing or like total economic devastation. I don't think they're gonna worry. But according to this, only a small percentage of the stuff's being tariffed. Like, I don't know. It's kind of sounds. So anyway, that's what I'm seeing today. So until we see anything more, all right. So the next one we're going to talk about is this: the Canadian government decided to recognize the state of Palestine as long as they meet certain conditions. Whatever. I don't even care that the Canadian government did this because, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter if France recognizes this Palestinian state or England or Canada, especially Canada. It's, as far as I'm concerned, Israel they have zero desire for Palestinian state. Whatever peace negotiations have been going on the last few decades has been just, I think, delay tactic. And whatever, it is what it is, but I'm not really worried about the recognition. I think I like it because the reaction it's generating, like people losing their minds. I think it's hilarious, kind of. But yeah, I don't think the actual recognition is going to change anything. That'll be left to other factors. But it kind of shows the response, like it's interesting. Canada, like France did it, and people just said whatever, it's France, and UK in the same. But when Canada did it, it was kind of like a shift. It seemed like because Canada is like a Western, like we're right by the U.S. So maybe Canada's getting a little influence in the world stage by doing this. But all the Conservative MPs, we'll go through this. All the Conservative MPs were like outraged, but during COVID they didn't say nothing. During when Canada's being flooded with immigrants from all the third world countries, they didn't say nothing. But now our government wants to recognize the state of Palestine, which is like whatever. If it means them going back, that's even better. People in Canada, like especially on the Conservative side, are freaking out for I don't understand it. They're not really our ally, I don't think. Let's go through some of the reaction to the decision here, the Canadian decision. Who's this? The Center for Israel Jewish Affairs, for the advocacy agent of the Jewish Federation of Canada, whatever. They got all these groups. So one phone call between Mahmoud Abbas and Mark Carney triggered a major shift in Canadian foreign policy, extending statehood recognition without releasing the Israeli hostages or substantial reforms by the Palestinian leadership is a recipe for disaster. That's why we're asking you to call your MP and tell them no recognition without real change. Yeah, they're furious. But the thing is, like, it's a delay tactic. Like, they've been doing this for 30, 40 years. Oh, we can't do this. We can't recognize them because of this. We can't do whatever. Anyway. So now they want us, they're interfering in our politics. They want us to call MPs for over this. I don't think it's going to be, it's not like the States. I don't think they'll be very successful. But the conservative members, they really care. They didn't care about their constituents for COVID at all. It's ridiculous. And it's really unmasking a lot of people because it's showing like what they get outraged over. I know what I get outraged over. I'm not outraged over this. I don't think it'll do anything. I don't think it means anything, but I'm not going to get outraged over it. It's hilarious. Like stuff like this, like Alberta. Alberta's taken this really hard. I don't understand it. Why is Alberta a Zionist state? So look, Kean Bext, little baby. Do Alberta and Canada need a two-state solution? Like, basically, he's obviously saying, in reference to the Palestinian thing, like, geez, what do you get paid in shekels, Kean? Well, don't sue me. I'm just joking. So, yeah, a lot of Alberta reactions so weird today. And I think it's just, I'd like to think it's just knee-jerk reaction to anything Carney does. And not because they're Zio shills. But like, look at this, Alberta. Instead of being outraged over the government making a declaration that doesn't even affect Alberta, you have this going on in Alberta. Look at this. I don't know. Alberta's got the mayor of Edmonton is an Indian dude. The mayor of Calgary is an Indian chick. And the head now of the new provincial police is an Indian dude. So I don't know why you're worried about Canada recognizing a Palestinian state when you got Alberta as being basically taken over by Indians. And a few Muslims. But the Muslims, the only reason they're there is because the Israelis and the U.S. bombed them for decades. Or they were living in a dictatorship that was supported by them. But look what they're doing now. Oh no, this isn't the Muslim one. They're doing Muslim ones in Alberta, but this one's a Indian one. Let's see. Nothing promotes assimilation and social cohesion quite like creating insular ethnic communities. This is the Gobind Sarwar School in Calgary, proudly flying the Palestinian terrorist flag. I wonder why they don't build these schools in India. So yeah, look at this. It's an Indian high school in Alberta. Isn't that nuts? Is a non-profit independent academic school which follows Alberta's curriculum, higher standards of academics, and a spiritually rich environment. The school's ethos is based on the teaching. Anyway. Yeah. Alberta's turning into India, and they're worried about the Palestinian state. We like here in Ontario, we know we're turning into India too, but we're not losing our heads over, losing our minds over this Palestinian thing. And Alberta is like, oh, those Palestinians are causing all this. trouble in Canada, it's like really it's a few downtown blocks in Montreal and Toronto, and most of the problem is because the police are too lazy to do their job. It's not because the Palestinians are taking over Canada. If anybody's taking over Canada, it's Indians, lots of Muslims, of course, but more Indians, more from the Indian region, I mean. So, I don't know. Alberta's really got their priorities messed up. So here, look at Alberta here. National security risk. I don't know. Meet Alberta's new police chief, Satpal Singh Parar. It's like, so Danielle Smith appointed this guy the inaugural chief of Alberta's new provincial police force, despite what critics call a tainted past. Anyway, what, they couldn't find a guy, an Alberta guy to do it? I guess maybe he was born in Alberta. I don't know. Okay. But anyway, literally, they have a mayor who's Indian in Calgary, in Edmonton, and now the police force. I mean, that's kind of weird. Okay. But yeah, I was a little hard on some of these, but I was bugging Alberta Conservatives all day because I'm a little disappointed. I thought, why are they so triggered over this Palestinian thing? They got so much more stuff in their backyard. Like, they're more triggered about support for a Palestinian state than by millions of Indians and Muslims taking over their province. What the hell is that about? So look at this. Lots of Alberta accounts I saw. After the Canadian government openly recognized Palestine as a state, I just want to say as a Canadian, I do not support Palestine. The only reasons Mark Carney did this was to oppose Donald Trump's views and continue elbows up mentality that got them elected, and because of pressure from domestic pro-Palestinian advocacy, including from groups like the National Council of Canadian Muslims. It's all about virtue signaling votes. Nothing has changed from the Trudeau government. So, I do not support Palestine, whatever. But yeah, lots of Alberta reaction. More. Like, that's what I notice on X. Not so much from. I mean, obviously there's people in Ontario who, like Steve Dacey Media, whatever. He's all kind of slopping a little over them. But mostly I saw on my feed was Alberta people. Here's Jason Kenney. Imposed draconian COVID mandates on his own people, and here he is being a cuck for Israel. So he's totally. Let's see what he says here.
Who have done the same in terms. You know, something else that you had mentioned that we've certainly been covering on this program is another post that was put out by the U.S. president, and that was saying that it would be difficult to reach a trade agreement given the fact that we saw our prime minister make an announcement yesterday that Canada intends to recognize Palestinian statehood during the UN General Assembly in September. We know that there are other countries, the UK and France primarily, who are continuing trade negotiations with the US, somewhat successfully when we talk about the United Kingdom, who have done the same, in terms of announcing the intention to recognize Palestinian statehood. So what do you make of those remarks from the US president ahead of this August 1st deadline about Palestinian statehood factoring into trade negotiations with Canada?
Well, first, I just have to say, for the record, I disagree with the Prime Minister's announcement because I think it effectively rewards Hamas for its massacre. But having said that, you're quite right. The President flew to the United Kingdom, sat next to Prime Minister Starmer, whose number one issue in those meetings publicly, that according to number 10, Downing Street, was the Middle East conflict, Israel-Palestinian conflict. So clearly they spoke about it, and Prime Minister Starmer would have pre-briefed him or socialized with the president the idea that the UK would be making this announcement the day after the president left the UK, and yet there's no response or anything impacting the 10% tariff agreement with the United Kingdom. So the fact that he singled out Canada on this having give Britain a pass on it, so to speak, suggests, just reinforces the kind of at least rhetorical singling out of Canada that we have seen from the president for the past 9 months, going right back to the Mar-a-Lago 51st state joke, which became virtual Trump policy for several months. So there does appear to be a particular animosity towards Canada coming from this administration.
Very finally, Mr. Kenney, in the last 60 seconds I have with you here, because you mentioned your reaction to that announcement from the Prime Minister.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
go
see.
into that a little bit and just ask you, in terms of the conditions that have been applied, do you think that that makes a difference?
Well, in a way, yes, because if the government holds to the conditions that there'll be a fully democratic, demilitarized Palestinian state with no involvement of Hamas in elections next year, I think the chances of that happening are no greater than a snowball's chance in hell. So I think if they stick to those conditions, and I'm sorry to be cynical about this, but Abu Abbas's administration has been in office for 16 years. They're in the 16th year of their 4-year elected term. And so I'm very skeptical that those conditions would be met.
So yeah, I give him a little credit, Jason Kenney. He's not freaking out over it, because he like, I already know, like, doesn't matter. That really doesn't mean anything. But you're really outing yourself as a kind of a shill if you get all worked up over it. Here's Michelle Ferrari, who she was just in Israel, and she was all streaming how she couldn't get out of Israel, whatever. So, okay, what she said. So she called it a reckless announcement to justify his agenda. At the most critical moment in Canada-U.S. trade negotiations, Carney's timing is reckless and dangerous. So much for Carney being the Trump whisperer. Unless this is part of his plan. Okay. Okay. This is another Alberta. If this is representative of Canada, I truly despise Canadians. The West needs out. We'll take our 34 to 45 conservative ridings with us, and Canada can forever remain a bastion of leftist lunacy without us. So I understand Alberta wants to leave Canada, but I don't think you think this would be a good reason to justify leaving Canada is because they voted for this or they want to recognize a Palestinian state. It's kind of weird by connecting the two. I don't get that. There's Donald Trump saying his reaction to it, and he kind of backtracked on this. He said, Canada's backing a statehood for Palestine will make it very hard for us to make a trade deal. He sort of backed off from that. So it was more of an impulse tweet of his. So yeah, just seeing all the Alberta accounts, how upset they are over this. I don't see how they're going to get independence because they're more worried about, most conservatives in the province are too busy sucking up to baby-killing Zionists, because what else are they? I couldn't care less, to be honest, if they're upset. Couldn't care less if they're upset about this, what Canada is going to do, whatever. I couldn't care less. But Alberta, there's a lot of these guys out in Alberta are totally outraged for the Zionists while their province is taken over by Indians and Muslims. So, they should get their priority state is all I'm saying. Here, Ontario, we know we're screwed, but we're not going to, our priorities, Ontario, not whatever Israel's feelings. So seeing all the Canadian shills for Israel losing their minds over Palestinian statehood is pretty entertaining, yes. That's why I'm enjoying it, because it's seeing people getting all hysterical. We're basically, I think, yeah, just lots of stuff. Tamara Lich, she was like all outraged. She was saying how Carney needs to resign over this and whatever. And like I can't stand Carney for a lot of things, but over this, this is the least of it. I'm more like I can't stand him for a lot of things, but this is the least of it. But anyway, yeah, she was all upset too. And it's like when Tamara Lich was in jail, I didn't see the Israeli embassy calling her, saying, like, tweeting out support for her to get released. You know, I don't know why she's so worried about it. But it's weird. Alberta's weird. I'm a little disappointed because if that's the way they are, they're done. They're not going to get independent nothing. All right. Unless Israel recognizes them. Okay. And the next. It's crazy stuff. At least it's not as hot. It was so hot. And then it went all cold. It's up and down, up and down. This could be the end of the icy, or the beginning of something. All right. So let's go to the immigration file quickly. People getting their Dominion cards. All right. So we'll see where this statehood thing goes. I'm not too, like I said, I'm more entertained by the reactions. Everybody getting all triggered by it. It's more entertainment for me. Yeah, Trump. We're totally prepared for nuclear war with Russia. All right. I don't know, Trump. Hard to believe what he says anymore. He's just, maybe he's going crazy. All right. That's a cool video. I saw this.
From the fields of old Ontario, where the wheat grows tall and green, to the Maritime's wild harbors, where the tides roll fierce and clean, we were sons of a young nation, with a flag of red and white. The ensign flew above us through the day and through the night. Oh, the red ensign waves o'er the brave and the free, for the boys who marched to Flanders and the shores of Normandy, with our hearts full of fire and our eyes on the sky. For the land we love we'd fight, and for her we'd die. In the mud of Passchendaele, where the poppies bled and swayed, we'd carve our name in courage, though the cost was dearly paid. With the ensign on our shoulders, through the shell and bitter rain, we held the line for freedom, though we'd never be the same. Oh, the red ensign waves o'er the brave and the free, for the boys who marched to Flanders and the shores of Normandy, with our hearts full of fire and our eyes on the sky. For the land we love we'd fight, and for her we'd die.
All right, you get the picture. It's pretty cool. Lots of cool videos coming from this Dominion Society of Canada. Some pro-Canada videos for a change. This is... we've been doing this, Gary, Public Safety Minister. Now it's Globe and Mail opinion article calling for him to resign. We shouldn't have these too many foreign-born cabinet ministers. But I think he'll get shuffled out. This is an interesting thing with the immigration thing. It's the CNE, Canadian National Exhibition. I used to go to it when I was little. And they hire kids, well, they used to hire people for part-time, 2 weeks, you know, whatever the length of the fair is. And this year they got 54,000 applications for 5,000 jobs. And up 50,000 compared to just last year. It's crazy. So look at this.
Says it has received
this is crazy. Yeah.
4,000 online applications. applications to work at the fair this summer. The X has about 5,000 openings to fill. Last year, about 4,000 people applied for jobs at the CNE. This backs up figures that show youth unemployment is rising to its highest level in 16 years.
Doug Ford wants to give more work permits.
We make the joke that it resembles the Hunger Games more than a traditional job market. It is super cutthroat, and it is wholly in favor of the employers. A lot of times it's very hopeless when you're talking with young people. The most frustrating thing is that they've done everything quote unquote right. Every single piece of advice that they've been given or that they could find in order to stand out in this job market, a lot of them have been applying it successfully, and they're not getting the results or the returns that you would expect. It's almost like the market's gaslighting them and saying, like, you know, you're doing all these things wrong, but not revealing like what it is that they were doing wrong.
So what are you telling them then when you're speaking with these young people that are feeling that way and having these sorts of issues, finding in some cases, like you're saying, even just their first job? What are you telling them?
I tell them that the best thing that you can do for yourself individually is to make yourself stand out and to develop your skills. I've been encouraging them to look at entrepreneurial endeavors as a vehicle for skills.
We're talking about the CNE here. So yeah, 54,000 applications. That's crazy. I feel bad for the guys that have to go through all those applications. They must have to throw some out. All right. What else we got here? Oh, here's Tamara Lich. I was looking for her. Mark Carter. She was upset. She was tweeting all day about this. I guess if she's, close to her heart, I guess. But like I said, when she was in jail, I didn't see the Israeli government texting her or posting support for her. All right. What's next? I wanted to see this recording of Doug Ford. There's more drug busts by some good Canadians. Tri Tang Ngoc Le faces multiple drug charges after 67 kilos of cocaine found in his commercial truck during an inspection. Okay. Okay. This was the one I was looking at. Doug Ford takes zero responsibility for unfettered and unvetted immigration into Ontario when it comes to our post-secondary institutions, and he should. And the opposition party should be courageous to say things that are true about this. I don't understand what that is. He should take responsibility, okay. He's taking zero responsibility about that. Whatever. So basically Doug Ford, for the last 7 years, let the floodgates open on international students. So he's saying in this interview here that he was not responsible. He's not responsible for immigration, but he let all these student visas in, which have flooded Ontario cities. Let's listen to this.
Okay, he's the premier of the...
Immigration does not fall under the province. I do my best, but it falls under the federal government. Just Toronto grew by 237,000 people in 1 year. Like, where do you put everyone? Where do you put the housing, the infrastructure, the roads, the highways? I go down to towns in the U.S. and big cities are 230,000, 300,000. It's like every year we're getting a city like the size of Boston, it seems. So we're doing everything we can to keep up with the immigration.
Boston's a lot closer to like 1.2 million than 200,000, but who's counting? Like that's a major American city. It's not Woodstock. Woodstock.
Right. So Doug Ford saying he's not responsible for federal immigration, which is true, but he didn't say anything as Premier of Ontario for 7 years with majority government. He didn't say anything about the influx of immigrants into Ontario and the ability of the province to handle it. He didn't say a word. Instead he was buddy with Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau and now Mark Carney. And now that he wants to run for Conservative leader, he's saying a little critical things of them. So the Ontario student visas for Ontario colleges, that's all his ministry, you know. And we have in Sarnia here, we have the college, and totally it's been just pumping out international students into Canada. So that's on Doug Ford. You know, the guy's a fraud anyway, whatever. I don't know how the guy keeps getting elected. But see, that's what I'm outraged about. Having this guy run this province in the ground. I couldn't care less about Canada recognizing Palestine. I'm more worried about Doug Ford. And that's what I think the priority should be. So yeah. But I think there's going to be some stuff coming, like, where they're going to try and do it like the UK crack down on movements that oppose this kind of globalist policy of basically flooding us with mass migration. Like, if we start speaking up against it, I think they're going to try and suppress it. So we'll see. Stuff like this, global news, which is really on the brink of bankruptcy. I can't wait till they go bankrupt. Extremist influencers weaponizing femininity, warns in Canadian intelligence report. I don't know what that even means, but they're going to be putting that extremist label out quite a lot from now on. We'll see. So anyway, we'll see what transpires tomorrow. I'm a little brain dead from that heat over the last few days, but I'll be all right. But we'll see what transpires this weekend in the trade front, on the Israel-Gaza front, I think, and anything else that transpires this weekend. Long weekend, probably people will be taking it easy. I got to work, so we'll see how this weekend goes. If you're going out for the weekend, have a nice weekend. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Thank you.